200 years ago, there was a war. Not just any war, one that nearly wiped out both sides. Humans fought against dragon hybrids, creatures that could shift between human form and full dragon. They were powerful, fast, and terrifying. But after years of bloodshed, every hybrid dragon was destroyed. All except one. He was the strongest of them all. A hybrid so powerful, entire kingdoms crumbled at the sound of his wings. His name was erased from history. People feared it. Some still do. No one expected him to be captured. But he was. Not by an army, not by a kingdom, but by one man. My great-grandfather. No one really knows how he did it. Some say it was luck. Others believe it was a deal with something darker. But the truth that survives is this: my great-grandfather gave up his life to seal the dragon. He used his blood in a ritual that created something unnatural, an enchanted collar bound around the dragon's neck. That collar took away his power. It made sure he could never harm a human again. It didn't kill him, it kept him contained. Chains were added after that. Heavy, rust-colored ones with strange glowing symbols carved deep into the metal. They were wrapped around his wrists and ankles and connected to the walls of his prison. He could move, yes. Walk around. Stretch. Stand tall. But never leave the cage. The prison was buried underground. Cold, silent, and forgotten. No light. No fresh air. Just stone, dust, and time. And that's where he remained. Not dead. Not free. And my family guard the cage from generation to generation. Just waiting. Before I continue, like and subscribe. Maya's Luna. If you're expecting a happy tale with sparkles and love and all that cute stuff, you're in the wrong story. I wasn't born into a family. I was born into a war zone, cold walls, colder stairs. My parents were never in love. Their marriage was arranged, signed on paper like a business deal. My father? He loved another woman. Her name was Lisa. Lisa was everything to him, his real home, his real smile, his real heart. And they had a daughter together. Emma. We were born around the same time. Grew up side by side. But no matter how close we were in age, we were worlds apart in life. My mother was the legal wife, but she was never loved. Just tolerated. A placeholder. She died when I was 12, and that was the last ember of warmth in my life that burned out. After that, I was invisible. Lisa became the queen of the house. Emma was the golden child. I was just there. Leftovers. Forgotten. They got the love. I got the chores. But I never let them see me break. My mom's last wish was simple: be happy. So I wore that happiness like a mask. At school, I talked too much. Laughed too loud. I was so noisy, my teacher moved me to the front row, to the deaf kid's seat. Thought that'd shut me up. It didn't. Because behind all that noise, behind all that fake sunshine, I was drowning. But no one noticed. No one asked. And I didn't care anymore. Life is short, right? When high school ended, I was ready for a new chapter. University. My chance. My escape. But of course, that dream got crushed before it could breathe. My father looked me in the eye and told me I wasn't going anywhere. That I'd end up in a man's kitchen. As if I was born just to wash dishes and carry babies. It's the 21st century, but my life felt stuck in the Stone Age. Emma, though? She rode the latest car. Shopped like a princess. Went to the best private university. New clothes, new shoes, new everything. And me? I cleaned her room. I didn't complain. Not out loud. What was the point? I just kept smiling. Kept laughing. Kept pretending. Because that's what I do best. It was Emma's birthday. She had just turned 20. The garden was glowing with fairy lights, guests laughing under the open sky, music flowing like wine, but I wasn't there to celebrate. I was there to serve. To pour drinks. To clear empty plates. To smile like I didn't notice that no one remembered my own birthday. I was born just a few weeks before Emma, but the world only seemed to orbit around her. It used to be different, when Mama was alive. She was the only one who ever celebrated me. She'd bake a small cake with whatever she had, even if it was just bread and sugar. She'd sing off-key and dance with me like I was the only girl in the world. But Mama died when I was 12. And since then, everything changed. The house became colder. And I became invisible. But there's one thing about me, I refuse to break. Even if no one claps for me, I'll still dance. Even if no one sees me, I'll still shine. So yes, I talked. I laughed. I made Emma's friends giggle with my jokes, told stories that had them clutching their sides. Maybe I forgot my place. Maybe Emma didn't like that all eyes weren't on her. She walked up to me, eyes sharp behind her perfect smile, and said, "Lona, bring me a drink." She was standing near the pool. Wearing white. Glowing like an angel in front of everyone. I obeyed, of course. I always obey. I walked toward her, glass in hand. The music played. Laughter carried on. But the second I got close, she jumped. Right into the water. I didn't think. I dove in after her. The pool wasn't deep, but she screamed. She screamed like I'd pushed her. Like I wanted her dead. The lights were still on, but the joy had already vanished, drowned in whispers and stares. Everyone kept glancing at me like I had horns, like I was a monster in their midst. Just minutes ago, I was laughing beside them. And now? I was the girl who pushed her stepsister into the pool. But I didn't. God, I didn't. They didn't want to hear that. When my father walked me back into the house, the door clicked shut behind us like the closing of a cell. My legs were trembling. My hands were cold. I didn't know what he was going to say, but I knew it wouldn't be good. He turned to me, slowly, like he was tired of even looking at me. And then, his words were like a dagger. "You want to act like a savage? Then you'll serve one." He stepped closer. His voice was sharp, flat, merciless. "You will feed the dragon. Every day. In that dark cage. Until I say otherwise." My heart stopped. My knees buckled slightly. The blood drained from my face. "No," I whispered. "No, please, don't do this to me." I tried to speak, but my voice cracked with disbelief. I didn't push her. I swear I didn't. "Dad, please." But before I could finish, Lisa, Emma's mother, stood up from the nearby couch, her arms crossed, a mocking smile playing on her lips. "Come on, girl. Your dad is just trying to make you a better person. Maybe this is what you need. Some humility." And Emma, she wouldn't stop. Her voice rose behind Lisa's like a banshee's cry. "She ruined everything. She ruined my party. She pushed me. Lies. Poison dressed in pink silk and crocodile tears." I looked at them all. Their eyes were hard. Cold. Like stone. No one believed me. Tears gathered in my eyes, but I bit my lip hard. I wouldn't cry for them. I wouldn't beg. Not in front of her. Not in front of Lisa. But I turned to my father again, my voice smaller this time. "Fragile. Please. I'll do anything else. Just not the cage. Not the dragon." He didn't blink. "You'll feed him. Every day. At dawn. Alone. That's final." I broke. I dropped to my knees. "Daddy, please." Still, he didn't flinch. He turned his back and walked away like my cries meant nothing. Like I was nothing. And as the weight of it sank in, I realized. This wasn't about punishment anymore. This was exile. This was rejection. This was him turning me into a ghost in my own home. And that cage, that dragon. That was going to be my hell. The next day, I woke up like always, before the sun, before the birds, before anyone even noticed the world had begun again. I swept the house. Washed the windows. Cleaned every damn corner till my fingers burned. I laid the breakfast for my stepmother, for my father, and for Emma. They didn't thank me. They never did. But today was different. I made something else. Something for him. 3 different dishes. I didn't know what he liked. I didn't know if he even ate like the rest of us. I just made what I could. I laid them carefully on a tray, hands shaking, knees weak, and I walked. Down the stone corridor. To the cage. Every step felt like walking into a nightmare that hadn't ended in 200 years. My breath hitched. My palms were sweating. But I couldn't stop. My father would know if I did. And I didn't want to face his silence again. When I reached the end of the hall, I saw it. The cage wasn't made of metal, it was made of something else, something old, something heavy. The kind of silence it carried could shatter your bones. Inside, he sat. Back turned to me. Chained like a beast, wrists, ankles, throat, all bound in enchanted steel. But even from behind, he looked too human, too handsome, too still. Like a nightmare carved into perfection. And just like that, all the fear vanished. "Hi," I said, a little breathless. "My name is Lona. I'm here to serve you, my lord." He didn't move. Not even a twitch. So I kept talking. And talking. And talking. I told him about the food. How I didn't know if he liked meat or rice or soup, so I brought all 3. I told him my name again, and how I hated my stepmother, and how Emma got everything while I cleaned piss off the floors, and how. "I don't even know why they chained you here," I said, laughing nervously, "but I swear I'm not scared of you anymore. You look sad. I mean, your back looks sad. If backs could look sad, yours." "Shut up." His voice snapped like a whip across the air, his voice cold and dangerous. I froze. But it was like the whole cage breathed when he spoke. Then his boy turned to face her. "Drop the damn food. And get out." His voice wasn't loud. It was low. Controlled. But it tore through her like a blade wrapped in fire. Her hands, already trembling, gave way. The tray slipped. The bowls hit the stone floor with a clang, then crash, crack, shatter. Everything fell apart. The rice. The soup. The glass cup. It all became a mess at his chained feet. She gasped. Covered her mouth. Then ran. She didn't look back. She ran down the long dark corridor, barefoot, heart in her throat, past the guards who didn't even glance her way. Out of the hidden dungeon. Into the underground tunnel that led to the mansion's lower courtyard. Then through the wide-open backyard filled with roses that didn't smell like anything anymore. Her legs didn't stop until she was back inside the house. Inside the grand hallway. The golden chandelier above her head didn't make her feel safe. The marble tiles felt colder than the dungeon. She stood there. Shaking. Her hands still lifted, like she was still holding the tray. That was when Emma saw her. Coming down the stairs in her satin nightgown, with a cup of warm milk in one hand and a smirk on her face. "Oh wow," Emma said, leaning on the banister. "I can't believe you actually made it out alive, but trust me, you can't escape forever. Soon you will be gone, out of my life, just like your mother." The moment the word left her mouth, Lona grabbed her by the hair and yanked her hair backward. "Don't you ever disrespect my mother." Suddenly, everybody in the house gathered. My dad, my stepmom, the maids, every single eye turned to the chaos unfolding in the middle of the room. My chest heaved. My hand still clenched from yanking Emma back by her hair. Her voice had pierced something raw in me. That was the moment I lost it. That name, her name, coming from Emma's mouth? Emma stumbled, crying out dramatically, clutching her head like I had thrown her against a wall, which I hadn't. But it didn't matter. The damage had been done. My dad rushed forward without a word. His palm met my cheek with a sharp crack that sucked the air out of the room. Silence. Have you lost your mind? He snapped. Lona, what the hell is wrong with you? I stood there, frozen, the sting on my skin nothing compared to the fire in my chest. My stepmother stepped in between us, her voice calm, almost too calm. Enough. Both of you. This is not how we solve problems in this house. Emma whimpered softly, eyes watering, but I knew that look. There was no pain there, only triumph. She wanted this. She orchestrated it. And I had played right into her hands. I didn't say a word, I just leave quietly. It's been a month since I started feeding the beast. Every single day, I came with food in my hands and words on my lips. I'd talk and talk, even when he didn't respond. Sometimes, he just stared, his face unreadable. Sometimes, he'd turn his back to me in silence. And sometimes, he'd say nothing at all, just listening. Like my voice was the only sound left in his cold, cursed world. But today was different. My father had traveled out of the country, leaving me alone with my stepmother. And she didn't waste the opportunity. 50 lashes. 50. My back was burning, my legs trembling, my vision blurry. Fever clung to my skin like a second layer, and my head felt like it was floating far above my body. Still, I went to the cave. I didn't speak this time. No words. No chatter. Just silence. I placed the food on the usual stone, turned to leave, then I felt it. A hand. Strong. Firm. Wrapping around my wrist. I froze. It was him. He turned me gently, his brows furrowing the second his eyes met mine. No talking today? He asked, his voice low, rough with curiosity. What happened to you? Then he did something I didn't expect. He lifted his hand to my forehead. His touch was careful, almost human. You're burning up, he muttered. And then he pulled me close. I didn't resist. I couldn't. My body sagged into his, weak and weightless. He wrapped an arm around me, guiding me against his chest, solid, warm, and oddly steady. My head rested over his heart. And for the first time, I whispered, I don't even know your name. He sighed. I felt it in his chest. Do you always to talk this much? He murmured, voice dry. I smiled faintly. Only when I'm alive. I slowly closed my eyes and sleep. When I wake up it was already late in the afternoon. A chill ran along my side. I blinked. His arms was still wrapped around me, but it wasn't just skin, it was the chain. That heavy, metallic thing locked around his arms, thick as sin and twice as cold, brushing against me. The touch of it against my skin made me shiver. It was silent, but not soft. It made no apology for its presence. Just cold. Steel. Wait. Like a reminder, this creature, this hybrid, is caged, and I was sleeping in the arms of something dangerous. He hadn't moved. But his eyes were open. And they were watching me. I sat up slowly. Thanks, I muttered. For, not throwing me out. No response. Just those eyes. I stood, dusted my skirt. The chain shifted again. That subtle clink, echoing like a secret in a cavern. Then his voice, low and rough. You really are something else. My breath caught. But I love it when you talk. I froze. My throat burned with 1,000 words, but I couldn't say one. So I turned, quiet, and made my way out of the cave. When I walked through the golden gates of our mansion, the sun had barely settled behind the hills. But there she was, my stepmother, standing like a warden in front of the marble steps. Her posture screamed elegance, but her hand held a whip. Long, black, coiled, and waiting. I froze. Her heels clicked against the stone as she stepped forward, her voice cutting through the silence like the snap of that whip. "Who told you," she hissed, "that you could go around and do anything you like just because your father's not around?" "Because we gave you a little opportunity, you think you own this place?" The whip slid down her arm with a slow, deliberate grace. My heart pounded. "It seems you don't have enough to do," she said, smiling coldly. "Good. I'll give you something. Sweep the eastern corridor. The back stairway. And that filthy storage room near the wine cellar." I swallowed, my throat raw. "Ma, please," I whispered. "I'm not feeling well. My body's weak, I just need something, just a drug, I'll do everything. I promise. But please." She raised the whip. It whistled through the air. I didn't wait to feel it on my skin. I turned and ran, the cold marble biting my soles as I fled inside, the grand doors creaking under my push. I didn't even know where I was going, only that I had to escape the fire in her eyes and the sting of that leather. As time crawled forward, I kept living in hell. Every damn day under the same roof with my stepmother and her spoiled little princess, Emma. There was no peace, none. Just their voices barking orders, eyes dripping judgment. Emma? She made it her mission to drain every ounce of air from my lungs. She'd leave her mess everywhere, demand I clean it, whine if I didn't fetch her things fast enough. Do this. Get that. Why are you so slow? The moment I dared to talk back, to defend myself, even just to breathe differently, my father would appear out of nowhere. Eyes cold, face like stone. He never listened. Not once. He'd just shut me down with that look. The one that said, "You're nothing compared to her." So I stayed silent. So, every day, I returned to the cave to feed the dragon. Lately, he's been different. He started showing concern, asking if I'm okay, giving quiet answers to my questions, letting his voice linger longer than before. Bit by bit, the silence between us cracked open. I even tied his hair into 2 ponytails once. He didn't stop me. We talk now. We laugh, play, even. And somewhere along the way, he began opening up. Who would have thought that a mighty dragon could lower his guard like that? He became someone I could trust. Someone I could breathe around. I had just finished serving him his food. I sat down, facing him, the cave dim and quiet but no longer cold. And I asked, softly, "What would you do, if you were free?" He looked at me, silent at first. His eyes burned like embers, ancient and unreadable. Then he said, "Anything that would make you happy." Wait, what? He didn't answer my question. He just lay back, one arm over his eyes like he wanted to shut the whole world out, including me. I sat there, watching him, the silence heavy, suffocating. I tried asking again, softer this time, but he didn't respond. He was ignoring me. So I stayed quiet. He sat up eventually and started eating. No words. No glance. Just quick, mechanical movements like he was trying to end the moment as fast as possible. The second he finished, I moved. I picked up the plate, trying not to show how tight my chest felt. But then, crash. The plate slipped from my fingers, hitting the cave floor and shattering into jagged pieces. I gasped, bent down quickly to clean it up. And then, pain. A sharp slice across my finger. Blood welled up instantly, trickling down my hand. Before I could react, he was beside me. He grabbed my wrist, not rough, but firm. His eyes locked onto the wound, and his voice came low, almost like a breath. "Are you okay?" I blinked. But before I could speak, he leaned down and licked the blood off my hand. Then suddenly, the moment his tongue touched my blood, everything changed. The chains around his arms shattered like glass under fire. The collar around his neck exploded with a crack so loud it silenced the air. The cave trembled. The ground heaved. It was as if the war of centuries had just been declared over. Rocks split from the ceiling. Dust rained down in violent clouds. The prison was falling apart. I stumbled backward, crashing to the ground. I covered my head with my arms, heart thundering like a drum of war. The storm raged, stones slamming into the earth like bombs. Then, silence. I peeked through my fingers. And there, above me, a massive, monstrous shadow. A dragon. Not a man. A beast of scale and fire, with wings stretched wide like a fortress wall, shielding me. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. It towered over me, godlike in size, monstrous in presence. It could have crushed me with a single claw. Split me in half with one snap of its jaw. But it didn't. It just stood there, covering me. My body trembled. My soul felt like it had left me behind. And still, he didn't move. He protected me. Before I could scream, his enormous head swung down. He picked me up with his mouth, gently, too gently for something so monstrous, and took to the sky. Wings tore through the storm clouds, black and enormous. We soared higher, faster, beyond the mountains, beyond anything human. The wind slapped my face. My heart nearly burst. I was flying, in the mouth of a dragon. Time blurred. Seconds became hours. Then, finally, he landed. In front of us stood a mansion. Huge. Twisted. Beautiful in the most terrifying way. Vines crawled along cracked stone walls. The air hung heavy with silence and old secrets. My breath caught. The mansion groaned as the door shut behind me. The air was thick with silence and dust, broken only by the faint creak of wooden floorboards beneath our feet. I sat down on a cracked velvet chair, my hands still shaking, the sting from the cut on my finger pulsing like a drumbeat in my chest. He stood in front of me, no longer a dragon, but a man again, barefoot, shirtless, eyes glowing like a storm held hostage. His breath was slow, his movements heavy, like the world on his shoulders just got louder. This place. I whispered, my voice barely holding itself together. They say it's cursed. He didn't answer. Instead, he turned slowly toward the fireplace, raised his hand, and with a flick of his fingers, flames roared to life. Dust turned to warmth. Shadows danced on the walls. But his back was still to me. They're wrong, he said finally, voice deep, edged with centuries of silence. This is where I used to live. He turned. And now I won't be alone. My breath caught. What do you mean? He stepped closer. 1 step. 2. The floor trembled beneath him. You fed me with your blood. Not by accident. Fate doesn't make accidents. I stood up, heart racing. I didn't mean to. I know, he cut in coldly. But meaning doesn't matter anymore. You woke me. Your blood break my curse. He leaned in. You belong to me now. I wanted to say something, anything, but nothing came out. My lips trembled. My voice cracked, barely holding together as I whispered. Would you still destroy the world? He looked at me, eyes ancient, unreadable, holding storms behind that calm. Then he said. It depends. But I won't anymore. That was when I exhaled, finally. A shaky breath of relief left my lungs like I had been holding it for years. He didn't smile. He just stood, helped me to my feet, and guided me to a warmer part of the mansion. One of the untouched rooms. There was a soft bed, clean sheets, and a silence that didn't feel hollow anymore. That night, I slept for the first time without fear clawing at my chest. But the next morning, when I woke up, he was gone. I searched the halls. The chambers. The broken wings of the mansion. Nothing. Not even a shadow of him. Just quiet. It wasn't until a week later that I learned what had happened. He had gone back to my house. Not just my house, everything. My father's company. The estate. The businesses. Their legacy. All of it, gone. Reduced to ash and ruin. He didn't kill anyone. No, he was smarter than that. He dismantled them. Ruthlessly, strategically. He left them with nothing. No power. No protection. No pride. And he never told me. Not at first. When I confronted him, eyes wild, heart pounding, he just looked at me and said, "They hurt you." I returned the favor. I stood there, speechless. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I didn't forgive. Because deep down, a part of me wanted them to pay. Then he stepped closer. So close his breath touched my skin. "I won't destroy the world," he murmured. "But only if you let me pursue you." I froze. Let him pursue me? God help me, I said yes. I mean, have you seen him? Tall. Sharp jaw. Eyes that burn like fire and a voice that could command heaven and hell. Who would say no to that? That was the moment he finally told me his name. Kairos, he said. Son of Wrath. Last of the Dragonborn. He sold some of his gold, ancient, carved with lost symbols, and we used it to restore the mansion. Every wall, every broken piece, rebuilt into something beautiful. Our sanctuary. He helped me enroll back into school. Helped me finish what they tried to destroy in me. Now I'm back on track. A future ahead. My name on the records. Graduation in sight. As for my father, my stepmother, and Emma, I don't know what happened to them. And I don't care. They disappeared. And maybe that's exactly what they deserved. And that brings us to the end of the story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and tell me what you think.